Welcome back. Today I'm talking about The Operator by Rob O'Neill. And Rob was born in Montana, which is a landlocked state, but nevertheless ends up joining the Navy. And his reason for joining the US Navy was because of a breakup with a girl. So his aim is to become a SEAL, but you have to go through naval basic training and also attend what's called an A school to get a trade. But then he is sent down to Coronado to start BUDS, which is the basic underwater demolition / SEAL training. And before you even start BUDS, there is a warm-up phase, a pre-fitness phase, which was in itself pretty tough, and you had to graduate that with some tests. And he does that and he thinks, well, that was hard, and to himself he thinks, well, BUDS can't really be any harder than that. And he got a terrific wake-up call, because BUDS is really, really hard, and he found it hard. But one of the things that he used to keep going was when the guys drop off the course, they have to ring a bell, and then they place the helmet, which has their course number and their name, down outside the room under the bell. And he was determined that he would never put the helmet with his father's name in the line of people who'd quit. So that was quite a way of motivating. And he goes into terrific detail about BUDS, several chapters, in fact, of the book, and it does demonstrate really what a terrific ordeal it was. Hell Week, which is notorious. During Hell Week, just to eat, you have to run 8 miles, a mile to the mess hall and a mile back with a boat on your head, as a team. So just that one thing alone, but that's also the clue to getting through the whole thing. Now, back then when Rob O'Neill joined, there wasn't a great deal of information about what BUDS was like. Now there's a lot more information. You can read all the books, you can watch a lot of stuff on video of exactly what happens during BUDS, almost a day to day. In fact, one of the books is almost a complete day to day guide to BUDS, class 228. But it doesn't make any difference. The guys who've been through it, either in the past or in the present, all agree that it doesn't help. Knowing what's coming doesn't help you at all. Being ignorant of what's coming doesn't help you at all. It's still hard. You've got to do it. And the strategy that Rob O'Neill used was to focus on the next meal, not on getting through Hell Week, an entire week, and not getting through BUDS, a 6-month process, which you will defeat yourself by thinking about that. But just think, I'm going to get to the next meal. And there were 3 meal breaks in the normal training and 4 during Hell Week. So the thought is, I'll last until the next break, and then you run off with the boat on your head, go and get your scoff. You're in a nice warm room, you're sitting down for a bit, you're eating, you get a nice warm meal inside you, good food, and then you think, right, I'll keep going to the next one. And that's how you do. And it's a really good method of getting through anything strenuous or any odd. Just focus on the next thing. Focus on finishing that set of exercise. That's all. I'm just going to finish this set, have my break. Okay, now I'll start the next. So he graduates BUDS. He's still not a SEAL, even after the 6 months training, and he's sent to SEAL Team 2, which is an East Coast command, and begins the process there of getting enough knowledge and experience to get his trident, which is the badge that the SEALs wear. And one of the steps in, or the final step in it, is a board. And this board is officers, master chiefs and everything, and they fire questions at the candidate. And he's got to know everything. He's got to know all the bits of an outboard motor, everything about weapons. He's got to know all the procedures, all the diving, the rules and regulations for that. And it's all fired at random, and he's really got to know it. It's quite a test. And lots of guys fail it. They don't get it the first time. Anyway, he gets his trident, and his first deployment is aboard a ship. It's the first time he's been on a naval ship. And off they go. And again, there's a lot of detail. One of his deployments is Kosovo. He also does some deployments with SEAL Team 4. But then 9/11 has happened, and he screens for SEAL Team 6. Now, the funny thing in this book is that the Department of Defense, who have to vet such publications, have redacted the word 6. So it's SEAL Team and then a black square. So the word 6 apparently is a top secret word. And this is ridiculous, and mainly because there's previously been lots and lots of books written about SEAL Team 6, most notably by Dick Marchenko, who founded it. And there's books called SEAL Team 6, and yet the DOD's still trying to deny the existence of a unit that's not called SEAL Team 6 anymore anyway. At the time that Rob O'Neill served, it was Naval Special Warfare Development Group, or DEV Group. Okay, it's changed its name since then. So I thought that was quite amusing. So he talks about the process, the screening, which again is a board and some tests, and then you go down and take part in Green Team, which is another 6-month process to qualify you for SEAL Team 6 as an operator. It's not really, it's not a pure selection process. It's a training process, but it's selection hurdles built into it. You've got to pass all the subjects, and it's done at very, very fast pace. It's got something like 40%, 50% failure rate. The first subject was military freefall parachuting at Marana. And I believe they've changed it now, and they've put freefall back to a later slot for a reason I'll mention. So he learns military freefall, which in his career he gets to do quite a bit of, and gets to be a freefall jump master and a tandem master. And after that is CQB, a lot of it down in Mississippi at MISS, the Mid-South Institute of Shooting. And there's a high dropout rate here, and this is the reason why they've changed the order, and that now they make CQB the first hurdle, because so many people fail at it. It's no use having them freefall qualified and then failing them. So a lot of time is spent doing house runs, CQB in pairs and 4-man, 6-man teams and so on, again and again and again, with numerous instructors on the catwalk watching for every step you take, literally every step you take. And there's one episode he talks about where a fellow candidate fires a shot right past Rob O'Neill's head, right past his ear. The guy's out of position and still engages, and the instructors are shocked, and they apologise to Rob O'Neill. They say we didn't shout stop, blow the whistle quick enough. He said we just couldn't believe what happened. Then you've got all the other aspects of the skills, driving, climbing, all sorts of things. Obviously, diving comes into it for the maritime hostage rescue role that SEAL Team 6 was the primary unit for. And then he passes and is sent to what was then Red Team, later Red Squadron. And his first deployment with the squadron, he also mentions training with the squadron as opposed to Green Team, was an eye-opener. The guys were so proficient, particularly at house runs, really, literally high speed. And it was really it's a distillation of excellence. You've got all the guys who were really good back in the other SEAL teams have gone through a really arduous weeding out and training process, and now you put them all together, very competitive guys, and the cream has risen to the top, as it were. So his first deployment with Red is to Afghanistan. And this raises a question really to me which I've never understood. Afghanistan is a landlocked, mountainous and desert country. SEAL Team 6 is a maritime special operations unit. Why would you send them to Afghanistan and send Delta to Iraq, which has two coastlines, major rivers and inland waterways, where there's lots of opportunities for maritime, or more opportunities, shall we say, for maritime operations? I never understood that, and it was mirrored by our deployments. The SPS got Afghanistan and SAS got Iraq, broadly speaking. Anyway, so he talks about the operations, the op tempo. At first in Jalalabad, it was fairly relaxed. They were driving around doing low profile but fairly relaxed operations, and then everything ramped up later on. He talks about how the tactics changed. At first, the Tier 1 units were using hostage rescue tactics when they were making raids on Taliban or on Iraqi targets, basically running into buildings, high speed. And this led to a few notable disasters where guys were killed, because the bad guys had learned and were ready, and they were suicidal. So having a tactic where you breach and run into a target and there's a guy sitting behind a sandbag wall with a PKM is not a good day out. So instead of flying to the X, which is landing your helicopter in the yard of the target or driving to the front gate of the target, they started doing offsets where they would land and walk in, and stealth became the tactic that they used. He also mentioned the use of dogs, the invaluable use that the Malinars were in these operations. So after numerous deployments to Afghanistan, and as I say, the book has a lot of detail, he's back home, and he's at his young daughter's preschool party, handing out cupcakes. It's Easter, and his beeper goes off and he gets the recall code, and what it is, it's the Captain Phillips job. And so the command, SEAL Team 6, had a window where they had to go wheels up, and they hit it exactly and flew off to Africa. They do a jump into the Indian Ocean, and he talks about the problems with that, an operational jump as opposed to a training jump, and what he calls he's the lead jumper on it, and he finds it very, very difficult to actually find the ships because of the light the sun, the light conditions, and the lack of wakes and so on. And normally in training, there's lots of safety boats whizzing around making wakes. So he is not actually involved in the final part of the Captain Phillips rescue, which was shown in a movie, where the SEAL snipers took out the pirates and rescued Captain Phillips. Pretty unique operation, really. Maritime hostage rescue using snipers in that particular way. Admiral McRaven, who was running JSOC at the time, was reportedly annoyed by this because he was planning a different option when his phone goes and he says the snipers have solved the problem, and he had a little bit of egg on his face, and it's thought that he really had a bit of a chip on his shoulder about SEAL Team 6 because he'd spent some time as an officer there and been sacked by Marcinko. But I'm sure he was a big enough man to absorb that, hopefully. So after the Captain Phillips, back to Afghanistan and so on, and then another rotation back to the United States where they're on a training cycle, and Rob and his team are down in Miami doing some diving training down there when they get a call to come back, or some of them to come back to Dam Neck, and this is the start of the briefing process for what became the Osama bin Laden raid, Neptune Spear. So training at the secret CIA facility, all that stuff's covered, the magic helicopters, how the op went down has been covered in detail. Obviously, Rob O'Neill gives you the inside story, flying in on the helicopter, what's going through their minds. The guys are really relaxed, playing music and all sorts, stroking the dog Cairo, the famous dog they used on the raid. But then it all goes wrong with the helicopter crash, but they adapt. And that's the great thing about special forces. One of the things is to adapt. They have lots of actions on built into the plan. And there's a famous little incident, and a friend of mine told me about this actually about 2 days after the raid, because he got it from insiders in the business, that one of the guys gave the rest of the team, the gypsies, warning and said, look, they're prepared for us. They've got a helicopter simulator they've been practicing on. And they went, you knucklehead, it's the crashed helicopter. And he's, well, that makes more sense. Anyway, Rob, his part of the operation had to be revised, and it's just okay, we push on and find a way in, get inside, and they start fighting their way up the different levels. Famous thing about one of the teammates calling out in Arabic, Khalid, Tal here, and shooting him. And they finally get to the top floor where the legendary Walker that has been spotted by the CIA lives, and it ends up with Rob O'Neill shooting him. There was another guy in front, and Rob said he's the bravest man he knows because he moved in such a way to take any suicide blast that might have been rigged, and leaving a clear shot for Rob. And then they recover lots and lots of information, hard drives and everything, and fly back with the body of Osama bin Laden after blowing the downed helicopter. And they're flying back, and it's a tense situation because Pakistan has F-16s sold to them by the United States, and they don't know if they've been painted, and they're going to be shot out the sky. But as Rob O'Neill says, there's no point in worrying about it. So they're sitting in the helicopter and they're listening to music and so on, or talking, stroking the dog again. And then it comes over the intercom from the helicopter pilot, "Gentlemen, for the first time ever, you'll be pleased to hear you're now back in Afghanistan." So after that, obviously, there's meetings with the president, all sorts of things, quite a bit of notoriety and fame. And there's the terrible disaster of Extortion 17, the helicopter with Gold Squadron members killed. And Rob spent some time then with Silver Squadron because they had to backfill and loan out people to different squadrons to keep the commitments going. And then he leaves the SEALs and goes into things like public speaking, and he ended up writing this book. I must mention that there is another book written by Mark Owen or Mark Bissonette, who covers the same ground and also claims to have been the guy who shot Osama bin Laden. It's a good book. It's a really good book, and I enjoyed both books. Who's right? I don't know. Is either of them right? I don't know. But they were both there, and they both written really, really good books about the op and about their SEAL careers, or careers within SEAL Team 6. So, as I say, there's a lot more detail than I can go on in this review. Rob O'Neill's got a good sense of humour. The book's very, very witty, easy to read, and it gives lots of insights into that process, coming from a guy with no experience in the water at all to becoming a member of SEAL Team 6. Really highly recommended book.